The film Transactions is a labyrinthine exploration of human nature focusing on the simple yet profound truth that every interaction is at its core a transaction where each party seeks to gain something from the other. The narrative is framed by the philosophical musings of its central characters, a group of con artists who are masters of creating compelling narratives or characters to manipulate their targets. The main protagonist, who operates under various aliases, is introduced as a man adept at reading people, seeing their desires and vulnerabilities. He first appears as Tomasz Landita, a luxury designer seeking a rare and expensive marble from a client, an actress reeling from public humiliation and abandonment. Tomasz correctly assesses that she doesn't need money or fame but reparation, a feeling of being special and unique again. He uses this insight to orchestrate his next move. Later the protagonist assumes the role of Xavier Escalante, an entrepreneur guru hosting an exclusive retreat. He sells the fantasy of an easy path to success, capitalizing on people's universal desire for fortune. The core lesson he imparts is that to get what you want you must focus on the desires of the person in front of you and craft a story they will believe. He and his accomplice Cairo successfully fleece a room full of aspiring entrepreneurs. The next con sees the protagonist as Eduardo Pinto, a vulnerable financial advisor on the run from enemies who seeks refuge and help from an older lonely woman named Tamara. He offers her the pleasure of being my savior, a reason to feel alive, which is her deepest unmet need. Tamara willingly gives him money to help him escape, even though she knows deep down the story is too incredible. For the con artists, these encounters are purely transactions, no victims, no victimizers, just two parties engaging in a mutually beneficial exchange, even if one party's benefit is entirely psychological. After securing the money from Tamara, the protagonist transfers the funds to a new account, signifying the retirement of the Eduardo Pinto character. Just when he seems to be winding down, a new opportunity presents itself in the form of an accidental car collision. The protagonist, now Sebastián Murillo, a literary publisher, rear-ends a luxury car. The driver, Carolina Correa, is frantic and terrified of involving her husband or the insurance company, desperate to avoid conflict at all costs. Sebastián immediately recognizes her need for a savior, someone to listen, understand, and not be a threatening alpha male. His accomplice Cairo initially advises against pursuing this new target, Carolina, and her husband Angel Correa, a powerful, recently enriched real estate mogul. However, the protagonist is drawn by the size of the potential reward, viewing the danger as a challenge. Sebastián begins to court Carolina, creating a romantic, simple, and slightly broken character to appeal to her need for empathy. They meet for coffee, where he admits to being separated from his ex-wife, a writer, and confesses to driving around aimlessly to find traffic jams, a moment of shared misery that makes people feel connected. Carolina, who is married, confesses she shouldn't be meeting him, yet she's drawn to his vulnerability. She reveals she listens to true crime and self-help podcasts, suggesting a woman both seeking escape and trying to fix herself. The con escalates with Sebastián skillfully manipulating Carolina. He shares a fabricated personal story about learning to cook with his late mother and raising his sister, while Carolina opens up about her own traumatic past, including breaking a window to get to her infant daughter after feeling overwhelmed and abandoned by her angry husband Angel. She admits she doesn't believe Sebastián's story about a broken heart, saying his eyes are not the eyes of a sad man. He pivots, confirming his heart isn't broken but admitting he's recovering from a toxic relationship and can finally breathe. As their intimacy deepens, the protagonist adopts yet another role, Tomasz the designer, to visit the home of the actress he conned earlier, ostensibly to discuss a bathroom design, securing further payment and closing that loop. Back with Carolina, Sebastián convinces her to meet at a dance class, a seemingly innocent location he suggests as an excuse to see each other that won't arouse her husband's suspicion. During a dance move, Carolina reveals her true dilemma. She can't leave her husband because he would take her daughter, as she owns nothing and is completely financially dependent on him. Sebastián realizes the only way to get to her is to go after Angel himself. Cairo, meanwhile, is unnerved by the protagonist's refusal to quit the game. An earlier target, Anna, is now sniffing around the old con's safe house, suggesting the risk of exposure is growing. Cairo urges him to drop Carolina and take the easy money. Ignoring the warning, Sebastián dives deeper into Angel Correa's business, learning the mogul is undergoing an audit and needs to sort his finances quickly to secure a bid on a new megaproject, the key to which Carolina knows. Sebastián then meets with an old associate, a man of influence, using a previous favor to try and get a list of public auctions. He attempts to pressure another contact, a former associate named Ruiz, into being a front man for a major bid, but Ruiz refuses. Desperate for a new mule, the protagonist goes back to Carolina, inviting her to see his kitchen, an intimate space she'd confessed was her happy place. With her husband out of town and the staff given a day off, Carolina opens up entirely. She confesses that her husband believes he is not the father of their daughter Julia, a devastating secret that fuels her fear and dependence on him. The ultimate transaction is now in play. Sebastián, having uncovered the one secret that could destroy Angel Correa, is poised to become Carolina's ultimate savior. Carolina, having let her guard down, reveals the extent of her husband Angel's emotional and financial abuse. He forced her into a paternity test, convinced a doctor to claim her pregnancy was high risk, and had her institutionalized for almost a year after the incident with their daughter Julia, seizing custody by painting her as mentally unstable. Sebastian, profoundly affected by her story, which echoes a painful, truthful past of his own involving a lost legal battle and a sister who suffered due to his failures, decides to drop the original plan of simple blackmail. He commits to a risky new plan, to corner Angel so Carolina can reclaim her life and her daughter. Sebastian, who had previously been operating as a hustler to survive, confesses his past failures to Carolina, admitting he learned that in this world it's either fuck or get fucked. He tells her he knows Angel's needs and how to destroy him. The plan involves using the identity of Juan Manuel Lopez Martinez, the son of a wealthy construction company owner, to infiltrate Angel's inner circle at a charity gala. Cairo, his longtime accomplice, is furious about the increased risk, especially since an earlier victim, Anna, is now sniffing around their old safe house. Nevertheless, Sebastian and Carolina proceed. Carolina secures him access to the gala, where he, as Juan Manuel, skillfully maneuvers into a conversation with Angel and his associates, playing the role of a confident but slightly arrogant citizen of the world businessman. He is aided by an acquaintance, Sylvia, the Undersecretary of Housing and Urban Development, a political insider. Sebastian uses this opportunity to plant the idea that Angel's rivals are working against him. The climax of the business con occurs when Sebastian, now accompanied by Cairo as Tomasz Landita, meets with Angel to finalize the deal for the municipal stadium project. The contract requires Elsa Construction Company, now controlled by Sebastian and Cairo, to act as a front company to handle the construction bid. Angel tries to change the terms, offering less money and shifting more risk onto them. However, Sebastian, speaking for Juan Manuel and using a shrewd combination of bluffing and strategic retreat, negotiates an upfront payment of $5 million, with the agreement to cover the remaining $2 million in good faith, effectively securing $7 million. After the deal is done, Sebastian plans to escape with Carolina and her daughter to Buenos Aires, with Cairo and his sister Nadia going separately. However, the escape is immediately derailed. Sebastian finds the account balance at zero. Carolina had stolen the entire $7 million. At the same time, Nadia, his sister, finds the multiple passports and learns of the full extent of Sebastian's con. She sees the viral news of the Xavier Escalante scam, revealing that Sebastian, her brother, is a notorious hustler who stole from his victims. Nadia, heartbroken and terrified, is confronted by an angry Anna, the victim who had been tracking Sebastian, believing Nadia is his accomplice. Nadia, in a desperate move, gives Anna the address of Carolina's apartment, believing she and Angel are getting divorced. Sebastian, realizing Carolina's betrayal, tracks her to her godmother's cabin in Jilotepec, a place she had described as her paradise. When he arrives, he finds the body of Maclo, his old police contact, murdered by Angel's goons. He confronts Carolina, who reveals a shocking truth: she was the mastermind who brought him into Angel's life. Carolina reveals her entire relationship with Sebastian was a meticulous fabrication, a counter-con to kill her husband. She knew who he was all along. She had witnessed the accident where he rear-ended her car, and she already knew his modus operandi from Anna, the earlier victim who recorded his seminar. Carolina had used all of Sebastian's previous victims in her scheme. She used Tomasz Landita, the architect alias, to get close to the humiliated actress Leonor, who was at the gala. She used Xavier Escalante, the guru, to fool Anna and her friends, and she used Eduardo Pinto, the financial advisor, to exploit lonely Tamara. She admits that his story of abuse and an unstable woman was true, but since no one believed her, she had to rewrite her story by casting him as the perfect criminal. The final confrontation ensues when Angel arrives. In the ensuing struggle, Angel is killed. Carolina quickly tells the police a rehearsed story, that Sebastian was a hustler trying to steal money from her husband, and that Angel killed the Colombian businessman, Juan Manuel Lopez, believing he was a rival. She had the opportunity to implicate Sebastian in Angel's murder, but instead told the police that Sebastian acted in self-defense, securing his life but ensuring his criminal conviction for the scams. She had no need for the $7 million, as she had rejected the bank transfer. Her transaction was not about money but about eliminating her abuser and reclaiming her daughter. 2 years later, the sister Nadia visits Sebastian in prison, telling him he'll be out soon thanks to Carolina's testimony. Meanwhile, the former victim Anna is now a successful true crime author, publishing a book about the chameleon-like hustler. The story ends by reiterating the core theme: there are no innocents in this game. Only stories. And people who believe, because the best stories always hide some truth. Carolina, now free with her daughter, has achieved her ultimate goal. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.